So it sounds like you're doing a really good job with the feeling of loneliness. Like you've really learned how to relate well to that one and reach out to friends rather than withdraw. What other feelings are challenging for you?
I think sadness in general, or even depression, it's like hard to know in the moment that like those are the feelings that you're feeling. It's like clearer after the fact. So I feel like with everything, to use like a more recent example, with everything COVID, I like didn't leave my apartment for a few weeks, which I think was also like health safety wise. But looking back, friends and family were like, we were kind of worried about you. And like my friend was like, yeah, I remember calling you a few nights in a row and you just like wouldn't pick up. And when you're in the moment, it doesn't feel like it's hard to like identify like, oh, maybe I was like avoiding friends. Maybe I was avoiding going outside. Maybe I was like self-isolating. But I think looking back, it's easier to piece together. But I think still being in the moment and trying to identify like, oh, I might have been going through like a down period is hard.
What are some of the cues that you're going through a down period? Now looking back on it, like how can you prevent that in the future?
Yeah, I think it's probably shying away from things that I like to do generally when I'm in a better mood. So things like talking to my friends, hanging out with my friends, going outside. And I feel like there are feelings that I don't typically associate with like depression or a down mood that go with it. So just being like agitated, more irritable, and getting like more angry a lot quicker, like having a shorter fuse and stuff like that.
And what types of life circumstances or biological factors might make you feel more agitated or irritable?
I think if it's like a generally like stressful environment, I feel like more sensitive to that. I think also if I'm like not sleeping well, which again, if it's like a stressful period, that definitely has something to do with it. I feel like if I'm drinking more than I usually do, like that definitely has something to do with it. And if I'm not exercising also, that has something to do with it too.
And can you typically tell when those behavior, like what do you think happens first? Those behaviors change or you become irritable because of stress and then the behavior change?
I don't know. I guess it's hard to tell. They seem like so tightly wound together.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. Can you say more about how, I know that you said the mood meter has been helpful and like coming to therapy on a regular basis to reflect has been helpful. Are there, and in a previous session, I think we talked about the things that you track, but how has tracking and self-monitoring impacted your life?
It's been helpful in figuring out like one, if I'm not feeling good, instead of almost having like the self-criticism come in and being like, why do I feel this way? Why am I stressed out? I have like a quantitative way to like be like, oh wait, this is like, these feelings are an outcome of like the lifestyle choices that I'm making at the moment. If I can just like course correct to do things that I know make me feel better, I'll feel better in a few days. So I feel like it gives me more like data about what's going on, and then also feels like it gives me a lever to like control my moods more easily too.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you, like many people, like what stands out is that your suffering is really episodic. So like you were just saying, like basically when you're engaging in all these healthy habits, like hanging out with your friends, exercising, sleeping well, drinking less, all of these things are like managing your work stress and your work-life balance well, you probably feel really good.
Yeah.
It sounds like you feel good. But there can be times where all of those fall away and you are more irritable, agitated, and depressed. So what do you make of that? How do you feel towards yourself knowing that you may have episodic periods of suffering like that?
I mean, it's like not amazing. Like ideally everything would just be like roses, that I wouldn't have to deal with that at all. But I think like it is what it is. And like knowing that I have ways to better control it or like flag that it might be coming, and then have ways to like, make those periods not as painful as they could be or not go as low as they could be, is like helpful and makes me feel like I have control over them too.
Yeah, and just to reiterate that, knowing that you have those biological vulnerabilities under stress, what helps you not make it make the episode less frequent and less intense?
I feel like knowing that like, okay, this is like a week to like maybe get more sleep, make sure I'm going to like, I like Pilates, go to Pilates every day. Make sure I'm like eating well, make sure I'm like social activities, even if it doesn't feel great, like maybe space them out a little bit more than I would usually. And then I feel like as before, maybe before like I started talking to you, I feel like during those periods instead, I would just like stay at home by myself, like listen to really sad music, like open up a bunch of like existential like philosophy books and get like even deeper in a hole. And I feel like it would like last a lot longer, and be easier to just like be stuck in it.
Yeah, you would kind of do like mood congruent behaviors. So once you were starting to go down, you would do other things that brought you down, like listening to sad music, withdrawing, and reading kind of existential or depressing reading. So now you can see that when that's coming, you've got to do stuff that's like opposite action. Like you want to withdraw and you reach out to people. You want to stay in your bed and you go and exercise, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great.